What's up, guys? On the road this week, but nonetheless, that's not going to stop us from doing what we do. And so here we go again. Another day, another embarrassment, spilling out the Democrat Party. And right in the center of the latest fiasco is Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who I don't think I'm stretching it when I say it seems as if every time she speaks, she finds a new way to say something that makes no logical sense. Nonetheless, she keeps finding new ways. She really thought she landed a punch when she tried to accuse Republicans of taking money from Jeffrey Epstein. But in classic Crockett fashion, she ignored the part where Democrats were actually the ones taking Epstein's donations, spending time texting him back and forth, and this from a man who was a convicted sex offender. This was all a part of their tired routine to smear President Trump, and like every other attempt, it blew up in their face instantly. But here's where the humiliation is now hitting next level. The Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who Crockett had no problem trying to smear and ruin his good name, is now stepping forward to address the matter and clear his name. And to top it all off, Crockett is now speaking about running for the Senate seat in Texas, something Republicans would love to see, because nothing highlights the incompetence of today's Democrat Party more than the candidates they keep pushing to the front. As always, the best way you guys can show your support for the content and that you enjoy is by smashing that thumbs up. That tells me you like the video, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this.
Well, so the reason why Jasmine Crockett would go to the floor in the first place and be lying is because she's done it a lot in the past and they get away with it. So the thought is you take the cheap shot, there's not going to be any pushback, and it's a free hit on the right to change the narrative. The problem is that you better come at us with facts and truth, or you're going to end up regretting it. In this case, they say there's no picture of the donor, Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's true on FEC.gov, but what it does say for occupation is that this person was a physician. What it does say is the date of the donation, and the date of donation was after that other Jeffrey Epstein was already dead. Now, why would Jasmine Crockett go on CNN and what happened last night? Well, that's just about doubling down on stupid. That was a word salad that makes, Kamala Harris sound like William Shakespeare. What happened on that CNN appearance was just an embarrassment in trying to clean up something where everybody knows common sense is that you're just supposed to own up to it. You made a mistake, you got called out for it. She didn't expect to get called out for it, but again, if you're coming at us, you better come at us with truth and facts, because we're going to push back.
That Congresswoman is just a liar. What she said, someone named Jeffrey Epstein. That's exactly what McCarthy used to do. Someone named John Smith. They didn't care if it was the right person. She's a disgrace to Congress and should be obviously sanctioned for accusing somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, one of whom is a prominent doctor in Long Island. It's a very common name.
And what makes what Jasmine Crockett did so egregious is how she did not bother, or care is a better word. She didn't care about the ramifications of putting the Dr. Jeffrey Epstein's name out there, who has nothing to do with the predator Jeffrey Epstein. She had no problem putting his name out there, knowing that they were not the same people. But because she wanted to try and take some political punches at Republicans, she chose to do that. And the effect that it could end up having on that man's life simply because he happens to have the same name, she didn't care about. All she cared about was how was this going to make the Republicans look? How was this going to make Donald Trump look? And if it was going to harm Republicans in any way, she didn't care about the casualties that she would leave behind with a doctor who has zero to do with this entire story. And so now he's coming out and speaking out on this situation. Take a listen.
The Jeffrey Epstein, who made those Republican donations, he's kind of taken it in stride. He joins us now. He is a medical doctor, a neurosurgeon, Dr. Jeffrey Epstein. I don't know at this point if I should feel sorry for you. I'm sure you're proud of your family name. How do you feel getting mixed up in that mess?
It's been a week of a disaster, if you might say. I was very happy with my name. I've had it longer than he has. Obviously, I'm still here and he's not. But to be implicated, or even the insinuation that I am the pedophile, it was really pretty awful what she did. And she clearly, when she did her word scramble, backpedaling on CNN the other night. Those were just blatant lies. It's ridiculous.
Would you take legal action against her?
I had considered it, but of course, with the law, you cannot, because the comments were made on in the Senate floor, so you can't sue based on the constitutional law.
What about what she said on CNN? We're given a chance to get it right.
She certainly didn't get it right. If anything, she lied even further, because she never once said a Jeffrey Epstein. She said Jeffrey Epstein. Clearly, she implied that Lee Zeldin, amongst others, had taken money from the pedophile. But let the record show that if you look in the filings, you also see that Jasmine Crockett took money from Jeffrey Epstein.
You know, I always feel sorry. I mean, I chose this life that I live to be in the public eye. But for people that don't choose it and they get smeared and slandered and besmirched, I've often given advice to friends that have gone through that. It's very hard on them. Has this been very hard on you?
It's been annoying. That's the best way I can say it. I've been inundated
You're
with...
very gracious.
a few too many texts, a few too many phone calls, people showing up at my home saying they're friends of mine. A reporter from the New York Post came by. It's just so silly. It's annoying, and that's what it was.
Did you donate to Jasmine Crockett? I read you might.
I was hoping this would go away already. I thought this would die down after a couple of days, but it just seems to keep going and going.
Did you donate to Jasmine Crockett? I read you might.
I did. I donated to Jasmine Crockett.
All right, that's political jiu-jitsu. Good play.
What makes Jasmine Crockett's behavior so outrageous is just how far she was willing to go just to score some cheap political points. She didn't care about who she hurt, who it affected, whose name she dragged through the mud, even if that person was completely innocent. This doctor was just out living his life, doing whatever he was doing, being a doctor, minding his own business. And because Jasmine Crockett had the bright idea that she would lie on the House floor, now he was forced to deal with things in his life that he should have never had to worry about when it comes to questions about, who he is. But really, this whole thing is blowing up in her face. This whole stunt has exposed Jasmine Crockett for exactly who she is, someone who's willing to mislead her constituents, mislead the American people, and manufacture a scandal just to attack the Republicans. And she's shown that she can't be trusted, not with the truth, not with her platform, and not with anything that she says publicly. She's already shown that she's incompetent with just when she speaks. Now she's shown she's completely untrustworthy. Nonetheless, when she goes on CNN to speak with Jake Tapper, they talk about her misleading statements about Jeffrey Epstein donating money to the Republicans. But not only that, also they go ahead and he digs into her potentially speaking about how she's going to run for Senate in Texas. Something that Republicans would be welcoming with open arms if she chooses to do so. There's no way she would win.
There was a back and forth this week after you accused former Republican Congressman, now EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, of accepting campaign donations from Jeffrey Epstein. It turned out it wasn't convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. It was a Long Island neurosurgeon, Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, different person. You corrected the record. However, now the neurosurgeon is telling the New York Post that he is threatening revenge against you. He's going to donate to your campaign, so you have to admit you accepted money from a Jeffrey Epstein, if not the Jeffrey Epstein. What's your response to that?
Listen, if there's anybody else who's alive and decides that they want to donate just so that you'll be on my FEC report, I am here for it. I will take your donation, especially since Jeffrey Epstein is now deceased. I don't think that it will be confusing whatsoever that it was not him, unless he's come back from the dead. So we'll see.
So you are, we're told, weighing a decision on whether to jump into this Texas Senate race, challenging Republican Senator John Cornyn for his seat, although it's unclear that Cornyn will survive a Republican primary. You said you had a meeting this week with pollsters to discuss your chances. Did you have that meeting? And if so, how did it go? Are you still thinking about running?
I am still thinking about running. We did get our polling back. So we are moving on to the next phase to determine whether or not this is would make sense in the moment, and if the infrastructure can be built out in the way that I see it being necessary to actually be able to win, as well as we are continuing to look at the polling on the other side.
Jasmine Crockett is quite literally the worst possible candidate you could put forward in the state of Texas. The only reason she has a seat right now is because she represents a deep blue, highly insulated district in Dallas. Sure, she can pull support there. That's her echo chamber, but statewide, she doesn't stand a chance. The demographics, the culture, and the political reality of Texas does not favor someone with her record, her temperament, her lack of just logic, or her messaging. So whatever the polls are saying, it really doesn't matter. The polls don't matter. The only scenario where she avoids total embarrassment is if the Democrat Party dumps every resource, every endorsement, every ounce of political capital behind her. I'm talking about they're going to have Obama basically on standby 24/7. He going to have to live in Texas. And honestly, it wouldn't be a surprise if they made that mistake. They made miscalculations before. They'll make miscalculations again. And like I said earlier, Republicans would love to run against her. She's already exposed exactly how disconnected and unserious the modern Democrat Party has become. And Texas voters would make that crystal clear come election.
And they are in a civil war right now on the Republican side as it relates to who will become their nominee. John Cornyn has served the state of Texas for decades at this point in time in some capacity. And right now, I don't know if he's MAGA enough to make it through his primary, but we are evaluating all things and seeing what it would look like to put together a team. And we will make a final decision by Thanksgiving on whether or not we're going to ultimately move forward.
What did the polling information that you got back show? I mean, is it a calculation of whether or not you're going to be facing Cornyn, who might have more appeal to moderates in your state, centrists in your state, as opposed to a more MAGA candidate who potentially defeats Cornyn in the primary that you might, or any Democrat might, have a better chance against?
I'll tell you this, that head-to-head, we are doing really well against Paxton. I will say that. I will also tell you that we are actually within the margin of error as it relates to John Cornyn. So to be perfectly honest, the only reason that I'm continuing to consider whether or not I do this is because my polling says I can win. That is the bottom line. But at the end of the day, a poll is a poll. And so you need to actually be able to execute on that. So whether it's Cornyn or whether it's Paxton, we feel confident that we can get this done. The thing is, we obviously would prefer to have Paxton.
Right. He'll be easier to beat. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great Thanksgiving with your family.
At the end of the day, Jasmine Crockett is not a serious candidate. No way, no how. She is a headline chaser propped up by a deep blue district that shields her from reality. And the moment she steps outside of that bubble, the entire state of Texas will remind her exactly where she stands. This entire scandal, from the lies on the House floor to dragging an innocent man into the political stunt to getting fact-checked on CNN, proves one thing. She's reckless, she's irresponsible, and she's exactly the kind of politician Texas voters aren't looking for. And if Democrats really decided to put her on the ballot for the Senate, Republicans will thank them for the free win, because nothing exposes the weakness of a party more than the candidates they push forward. And Jasmine Crockett might be the clearest example of that. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Is Jasmine Crockett really the best Democrats can do? Or is it just another sign that their bench is collapsing right in front of us? As always, best way you can show your support and that you enjoy the content is by smashing that thumbs up. That tells me you like the video, or subscribe for more breakdowns like this. And as always, until next time.